Yeah.
And we haven't bothered to step on them with steel-toed boots because people wearing the steel-toed boots didn't have to care. It was only the people running around barefoot.
Right.
You know? And so I think that a lot of what we're seeing, especially when people talk about like justice or revenge or like sort of these buzzwords that we have, it's this confused idea that one, we have to keep the system that we have in place in order, but we have to fix the system. As opposed to someone like me, I'm like, I said we burn the whole thing to the ground and we actually start over. That's just my take on it. And so I think there's a lot of sense of like, okay, well, we have to operate with the tools that we have right now, so we'll just kind of try to maybe do a thing. And I think the other thing that is happening when people talk about like, oh, justice or revenge, is it's the phrase, it's the idea that when you have been at the top of the food chain for so long, the idea of equality makes you feel like you're being oppressed. And it's misguided idea. We're not saying take you off of the top of the food chain and shove you down below the dirt. We're saying bring everyone to the top of the food chain. And so we're not necessarily trying to like tear away the life that you have built. We're just trying to say give everyone this opportunity to live this, you know. And but the problem is that a lot of people, when they hear things like equality, they think, oh, you want to bring me down to your level, which means they inherently know that there is a discrepancy, because they're like, well, I don't want equality. Why not? Because you know that you've been shit to these people the whole time, and you're like, well, I don't want to live like them the way that I've been forcing them to live because I'm better than that, you know. And so as opposed to saying like, well, if I don't want to live like them, they sure as hell don't want to live like them, so why don't I help to have them not have to live like that? It's this thought that equality, quote unquote, means, oh, well, I can't have any of my nice things, I have to go live in the gutter. It's like, no, we're just trying to not have anyone living in the gutter.
I have a lot of Christian friends, and I live a pretty Christian type lifestyle, but I'm an atheist. I haven't believed in God for years. But they always seem to be threatened by that. I'm happy they have a relationship with God. If it works for them, super duper. It's just I don't feel it. You know, it's not a thing for me, and I don't think that my feeling the way I feel is any disparagement of their choices.
No, I would agree with that. I think, again, my general premise, like for me personally, is if it is not directly harming you or someone else, do your thing.
Yeah.
You know, directly or indirectly, you know, like if it is not directly causing a negative impact to yourself or someone else or the world around you, all right, cool, you know, and I'm not gonna sit around and be like, oh well, you shouldn't live like that, because I wouldn't. Like, that doesn't.
Yeah, who cares?
We're way too comfortable right now as a society with this, and I don't necessarily think that it is intrinsic to us as humans. I think it is definitely a learned behavior, because it is obviously something that you can unlearn, you know. It's just about being willing to be uncomfortable and saying, okay, this is something that I've learned, and maybe I should unlearn it, and maybe I should change. Growth is not comfortable. Yeah. Like, I highly doubt any tiny seed that starts pushing its way through concrete is like, oh yeah, this is great, it's so easy. That's not how it works. That's literally not how growth works. Like, you have to take away part of what you have been in order to become something else, and quote unquote something better, if you will.
I'm fond of saying that human beings instinctively hate and fear change. You know, and there's just an inertia to the way things have always been. So we have to challenge ourselves to broaden the experience.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now, streaming.
Yes, but
do you have any words of wisdom for my friends who want to get into live streaming? Any tips to help them make the transition?
My biggest thing is just that it takes a while. It is a whole different... I don't care how long you've been... I mean, I'd been performing for over a decade before I started streaming. I've performed all over the world. I've put up videos, I've done, like I've done all of these. It is a whole different animal. And it takes a while to get used to. So I would say, don't just try it one time. You're not going to be able to make a decision whether you like it or not after trying it one time. Give it a few weeks. Give it a few months. Like, not saying force yourself to do it. If it becomes a few weeks and you're like, it's just not my thing, then it's just not your thing. But I would advise someone to not write it off completely after just the first 5 or 10 broadcasts, or even the first broadcast, because your first broadcast is going to be awful. It will. It just will.
It's such a snowball. I mean, it starts out the size of a grain of rice, and by the time you get something to build a snowman out of, it's a long time. I was telling my friend Kate, who I'm going to go see perform tonight, that I think it's a lot harder to get from 5,000 to 10,000 YouTube fans than it is from 150,000 to 180,000.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So yeah, that my biggest piece of advice for live streaming specifically is your first broadcast is going to be horrible. It just will. So accept that, realize that you don't know what you're doing, and don't make any snap decisions.
What was the biggest challenge for me, because I was never streaming when I was doing an audience performance. I was just streaming from my office at home. I couldn't feel the audience, and I just wasn't smiling. I looked miserable all the time.
Yeah.
And I actually took a performance class at the song school at HCChat to try to help me open up and to visualize them out there, but it's difficult for me.
It is, and I think the reason why I personally I'm not going to even say that I've been successful at it. I'll say that I think the reason why I have taken to it well, and not to toot my own horn, but the reason why I'm good at it is because I'm actually an introvert. And I am very comfortable with just being there in my room with no one else around me and just seeing a few comments pop up on screen. I'm very capable of interacting with a live audience, and I love that, and I love those moments because, again, personal connection. But I think I'm also... I've been adept at learning how to live stream because I'm very comfortable with not feeling the audience there. And that is a big shift because, you'll see YouTube views rack up.
Yeah.
You'll see maybe you'll put it out to your friends and you'll be like, oh sweet, I've got 12 views. Oh, I've got 50 views. Oh, I've got 100 views. Oh, I've got You'll see that in a lot more of a... I want to say in a lot... What word am I searching for? In a lot more substantial way. You can watch the views come in, and that's something that, sure, that might be 500 views over the course of a month, but you're 500 views. That's awesome. You start a live stream, one person comes in. Maybe they don't talk. 2 people come. Maybe they don't talk. 5 people are there. Maybe one person says hi, and you're like, oh my god, human interaction. But then they disappear.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of about learning to be comfortable with yourself.
Right.
More so than being comfortable with whatever's happening on your phone. Because if I can sit here and I can just stare around at nothing with a phone in front of me and be like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm going to go back to doing what I do. You want to talk to me, you talk to me. You don't, you don't. So it's becoming comfortable with putting yourself on a camera for potentially no one.
Yeah.
In real time. Which is a very different feeling than recording yourself. So I think that's...
Well, I was streaming so little that I was always saving replays. And one of the things that I was pretty good about is I would start disseminating information the minute that they started, knowing that nobody was watching.
Yeah.
Lots of times live meters, they'll flick the thing on for 10 minutes. They're just walking around, getting drinks of water, combing their hair, doing this and that. And until they had, 50 people, they're like, they don't care.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to delete your stream, that's fine. But if you want to put something up as a replay that people can get into, you can't ignore them for the first 5 minutes. If
No.
you're never gonna
Well,
get
and you know, it's something for me. One of the reasons that I start, you know, like I might start performing if I'm broadcasting to. If I'm broadcasting while I street perform or while I play a gig or whatever, I'll start the broadcast 15, 20 minutes before I actually start performing, before I even start setting up. So that it gives time for people to come in. And then by the time enough people have started coming in, I'm like, hey guys, this is the thing that I'm doing now. As, you know, so like that is my first, where some people like start it and then they're like, all right, I'm just going to fix my hat. You know, like maybe take a couple selfies, you know, like whatever. As opposed to doing something like that, my you know, like my warm up, you know, because like comedy shows, stuff like that, you get a hype man who comes in and like warms the audience up for you. You don't have that in broadcasting. You are the hype man. So like if you want to kind of get things rolling early, give yourself a little bit time to give, you know, like to have people actually come into the room and provide them with, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. And also, again, like don't be afraid to sit there talking to no one or even waiting for people to show up. You know, I do that if I'm working in the studio and I decide to broadcast, I'll put it on. The things that I'm doing in the studio are more important than whether or not I'm talking to, you know, the 3 little bots who pop up at the beginning of my broadcast and being like, are you a human or no, you're a computer. All right, I'm going to go back, you know? And so I think, again, like it depends on the kind of broadcast that you want. If you want a broadcast where it's just interaction, constant comments, like everything is flying by, you want it to be super like intense and involved in everything, like you need to get that momentum going from the start. But if you're like me, where I'm much more interested in just hanging out with people while I do my thing, I'm going to be like, no one's hanging out yet? All right, I'm going to do my thing while I wait for the party to show up.
Sometimes Matt has to drive for work, and I will sit with him on a 2-hour drive. The camera's just watching the road.
Yeah.
It was really amazing when the wildfires and stuff were up. But, you know, there's probably a very small number of people in those broadcasts, but they were really interesting.
Yeah.
Have you, are you familiar with Viola Spolin at all? She wrote a book probably in the 50s called The Art of Improvisation. And
I feel like I've heard of that book, though.
Incredible book. It's like the Bible for people who are into improvisational comedy, like The Groundlings or The Second City or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff in there that's really interesting for musicians. It's something you might want to peek at. It's pretty fun.
It's interesting too because I did a lot of I started doing improv when I was 14. So like I've done, you know, a lot of my life has just been being very comfortable in different performing aspects, and so I think that's another thing that has helped me with live streaming is that I'm just very comfortable being a performer.
Well, you seem like you know, you could really merge those things pretty effortlessly, and we have preconceptions about what shows are, but there's no reason why a show can't be music and comedy all together.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Martin Mull's gig used to be like that. I don't know if you know his stuff, but fantastic. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. I guess I don't even know if I need to tape this, but I think I want to.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you about the future, about what the plan is and what's going to take you to the next place you want to go.
Well, provided the entire country doesn't burn to the ground. I actually might help it with that. But ultimately, and this is something that I've honestly only realized within the last month, ultimately what I would like to create is a community of people who exist in a mutually supportive way. So how do I put this? They begin by, whether you want to call it being fans, being supported, whatever it is. Yeah. So right now, what it is looking like is having people sign up to support in a financial way my Patreon. Because that directly translates to me being able to create these things without fear of losing my
How's the Patreon
house.
thing doing? Can I ask?
Patreon is doing pretty well so far.
People pay you for output, or just pay you for time, or how does it?
It's a mix right now. So what I have, and obviously you can do Patreon differently. Some people do it where they say, all right, you pay a certain amount per video, and I will put a maximum of 3 videos out per month. You donate what you can toward the production costs of each of these videos. For me, what I'm doing right now is I'm saying, okay, this recording studio space that I'm sharing with my friend costs a certain amount. And I don't have the money on my own with what I make to also cover that as well as my bills. So what I'm asking for initially is a certain amount to go, $500 to go toward this studio space specifically. And then in total, my current Patreon goal is 1,000. So the first 500 is dedicated for that recording space, to being able to share it and pay for the use of that space. The remaining $500 a month goes towards things like, paying for mastering services, or, buying new gear so that I can actually perform, investing in the things that I already have. Eventually, I'd take that money and I would save it so that I can afford to go on tour and actually go, meet people in person, or just make a run of CDs. So right now, I think I have people pledging around 150, which is not awful. I've been building it up.
And they pick the number. It could be $5.
It could be $1. It could be $5. It could be 50. It depends on whatever your budget is.
Sure.
And then, as I am also, and then the quote-unquote reward, if you will, for pledging whatever it is per month, is they get every song that I record, they get it a month before I drop it to the public. They get a video every month, whether that is me breaking down the production of a particular song, me breaking down the backstory, me just recording something live in my room to be like, hey, this is this piano piece that I've just created and I want to show it to you guys. They get that on an exclusive level.
Yeah.
The public gets a 1-minute teaser.
Yeah.
And then I had my first book come out where it was a compiled set of backstories for the songs on my first album.
Is it an ebook or a physical
Nope,
book?
physical book. I did a limited edition physical book. I did a run of 50, and eventually I want to turn it into a series because I like when songwriters sometimes at shows will be like, so this song is about blah, blah, blah. I don't do that on my own show stuff.
Right.
So I'm doing it in this book.
Right.
And how I'm organizing it is I'm organizing it by whatever project I put out. So the first book was the 12 songs that are on my first album. So kind of like a companion piece. Because the other thing that you used to get when you'd have records and cassettes is you get liner notes. And we don't really have a space for that anymore. So this is my combination of liner notes, with the backstories of the songs. So it's got the backstories about each one of the songs, it's got the story of the album as a whole, and it's got all of the lyrics.
Well, it's funny because there's a CD format that allows you to add all that kind of content.
And you can have it digitally as well.
And pretty much nobody does it.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy. They flirted with it 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember
and now
that.
Almost nobody, and I'm constantly trying to get people to put out these enhanced CDs.
Yeah.
But they
you get the PDF download and everything.